All right, Mike, you're on.
Okay, so again, like I mentioned before, that many of these questions that we are going to present and answer came from members sending them to our Team Deorio at gmail.com email address. And again, we encourage members on our Facebook page and even on our own personal page to reach out to us if you have any questions. And again, sincere questions, not questions where you're going to come and try to bait us or be loaded questions or questions that you're trying to be adversarial about. We're not going to entertain those questions. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, but these are questions that, of course, relate to the whole membership, and these are fair questions. And again, here we go with these questions. Now, when we talk about these questions, we broke them up, or we made 4 themes or topics, so to say, in order to address these questions. And these 4 themes or topics that we'll be discussing tonight really center around 1, communications, 2, negotiations, 3, relationships, and then 4, we just put it in as a HEA general business. Okay, and again, before we get going with these actual let's say questions, I do want to talk about that we do have our Facebook page. It is Team Deorio Facebook page. We do also have our web page, which is teamdeorio.com. And even if you are not a Facebook member, you can sign into teamdeorio.com and it will bounce you to our page and still provide you with the content that is necessary to get to know us better and what we stand for and what we are all about. And then finally, once again, I'm repeating, we do have also an email address, and our email address is teamdeorio@gmail.com. So again, these questions came to us via the Team Deorio Team Deorio at Gmail email address. So here we go. First categories we'll start off with is communications. And the first question is how important is transparency? All right, Ted, I would like you to answer this question if you can.
Yeah, I'm glad that you picked me because, as you know, this is a big topic with me because of things that have happened. And I want to kind of start by saying that I've seen a lot of people posting on Facebook like, oh, you guys are doing negative things. But you know what? I don't see how I can tell a story about what people did that I don't like, right, without kind of telling the story. I mean, it's so.
Ted, I completely understand where you're coming from. And again,
so this is going to sound like I'm being negative or I'm picking on people, but they did stuff that I don't like.
It's again, we're not doing anything other than running for office, telling you why we are the best candidates and why the membership should pick us. And we're offering facts. That's all we're doing.
So the transparency issue.
Yes, big.
Leaders of the HEA were the opposite of transparent with me when communicating about the problem that we had with the election, okay? So, convoluted story. So you got to stay with me on the story, and I'm going to give you some visuals because this is an important issue to me, so I went through the trouble of creating some stuff to present to you. But just to bring everyone back up to speed, there was a decision made that the bylaws would be changed so that voting would be in one location. Terrible decision, and it was kind of surprising. It was kind of done in a sneaky way. It was snuck into the bylaws. Voting in one location, which is terrible. It will kill voter turnout for our election. It will.
Ted, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It's not fair and it's not convenient. And it's not fair and it's not convenient. So let me get into the story here by presenting you guys with some stuff because again, it's convoluted. But what they did when they were communicating with me is extremely dishonest. And I've mentioned it to all of you guys before, but I never walked you through it the way Mike and I experienced it. So here goes. And again, stop me if this is confusing.
If we have any questions or if we need clarification, we will do so.
Right. So when I heard that the election was going to be in one location, I emailed and texted our leaders and I received the following response. First of all, and this is an email from one of our leaders who is currently a candidate, and I was told that yes, we have to vote in one location. It has to be in a single location, and the reason is because the language was lifted directly from the NJEA sample, which the person says that they attached to the email, and according to that voting had to be done in a single location. Mm-hmm. Mike, is that your understanding of how as a consultant, is it true? Yes. Is it true to say?
Is it true that you have to have voting in one building? The answer to that is absolutely no.
Okay, good. So
NJA does not say that you have to have it in one building. That's why they put forth to you a thing called a sample. A sample.
Okay, good.
However, you have to tailor the bylaws to the needs of your own members of the district.
So in other words, we get a sample document, but we can tailor it to the needs that are good for everyone. We can change things.
That's correct. See, there's a thing called the NJEA Standards of Affiliation. In order to be affiliated with the NJEA, again, NJEA is the mother, we are the sister, right, of organizations. In order to be affiliated with the NJEA, you have to do X, Y, and Z, all right? And again, this is not one of the X, Y, and Zs in order to be in good compliance with standards of affiliation.
Okay, good, because here's another communication from one of our top HEA leaders who is also a candidate. When I said, when I texted this person about the election being in one location, this is the response I got. And this is exactly what you just said. Hi, Ted. That is indeed correct, one location. In order for our Constitution and bylaws to meet the NJEA standards of affiliation, we had to align them with the rules and procedures outlined in theirs. And in other words, voting had to be in one location in order to meet the standards of affiliation. That's the question I asked.
And that's not correct.
Exactly. That is so transparency. That's literally that, and maybe they just didn't know. Okay, maybe they didn't know and mistook that.
Ted, I can't accept that. If you're a leader of an association, how could you not know what you're talking about?
Yeah, but wait, it gets way worse.
Don't accept that.
It gets way worse. Okay. Now, the first email from one of our top leaders, and they said, I'm sending you a copy of the sample bylaws that we followed. Okay?
Right.
However, he used the word lifted the language from the sample bylaws. But the copy that he sent me was actually the wrong sample bylaws. He sent me a copy from 2018, and Mike, you know this because you're the one that pointed it out to me. So he sent me.
Correct.
So
he sent you an outdated version.
Right. Now, what was missing from the sample and what is also missing from our actual bylaws that we adopted is a very important paragraph about the fact that the elections should be fair and convenient. So I did this drawing here to kind of to separate these three documents because again, it's convoluted, but in order to understand the lack of transparency and quite frankly the dishonesty that happened, you have to kind of understand the three different documents. So
Ted, one question before we get going.
Yeah.
I see that that you used the red and the green. Did you consult with Jose before you used or chose those colors?
I did not. Is this
he spoke about having a green and red Afghan made for him.
Oh, okay. I actually used green as in like this is the good one and red like stop, that's the wrong one. That was my thought.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so green is the good document, the document that should have been used. So the paragraph in question is this paragraph that says specifically, and I don't know if you guys can read this, that the election that is done should be fair and convenient. Everyone needs to have a fair and convenient ability to vote. Everyone with me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That paragraph is in the correct sample document that should have been followed. It's not in the old document. and it's not in our bylaws in the section about voting, section 1. It should be,
That's
though.
a problem.
Right. So in other words, if somebody wanted to have an election that, was more limited, and why would they want to do that, Mike? Why would they want to limit the election to one building?
It's about voter suppression. Okay, again, they know that, listen, if you have a candidate that's in one building, the odds are that, the odds are in your favor of people in your own building voting for you. And also, we know that if it's in one building and people have to, after a long day of school, they have to get in their car, drive over to a school, find parking, go in and vote, they're just not going to do it.
How many members do we have?
Roughly, I would say roughly about 5. Again, estimate 580.
Yes, that's a lot of people coming to try to vote. So if the voting is where it should be in each school, right, cast your vote, voter turnout will be close to 100%. Correct. If instead voting is at the high school or wherever they were going to pick, to their advantage, of course, voter turnout at all the other schools would be dramatically lower, and voting at the high school would be 100%. Certainly that's not correct. Fair. That's probably what they wanted, and that's the first time I started to get angry about all of this stuff, when right, Mike and I were talking about this, and I was telling him, no, I'm not going to run. Thank you for considering me. And the more I got into this, the deeper I got into this, the more angry I got. Now, back to the documents. That fair and convenient paragraph. So an argument that they might try to make is like, oh, I accidentally sent you the wrong document when you were talking about voting in section 1. But the problem is, in section 3 of our bylaws, that fair and convenient paragraph appears. In other words, they can't say that they didn't have the correct sample bylaws. If they say, well, we had the 2018 bylaws, which didn't have that paragraph, right, then how did that paragraph end up in our bylaws in section 3, which is right, a section about...
It's right. It's quite evident that they had both samples, because if you only had one sample, there is no way that you would be able to get language that is in the 2009 documents.
Exactly.
So they had both samples. They just cut and paste and picked and chose what they wanted to fit their own narrative.
Correct. So in other words, in section 1 about voting,
right,
they left this paragraph out. In section 3, which has to do with ratifying the Constitution or whatever,
yes,
they left this paragraph in. So they had the correct sample document when they were doing this. However, when I asked about the voting, and the person said, oh, here's our sample that we used, he knew I was going to look at the section about voting, and he didn't want me to see that the paragraph was missing. Everyone understand?
I might understand, but it's hard to believe.
Yeah. So he emailed me a copy of the sample bylaws, and when I read it, I believed it. He fooled me. It wasn't until I went to Mike and said, oh, well, Mike, look, here's the sample. Yeah, Mike said, let me take a look at that. And he said, that's the wrong sample. He knew right away, and he went down to the bottom of that sample document and showed me the 2018. And that is in the email that this person sent me.
I told you, I said, Ted, that document has been revised. He provided you with an old document.
Exactly. So it's literally dishonest. When you see that paragraph about fair and convenient exists in our bylaws, but doesn't exist in the part about voting, that shows me that they were intentionally keeping it out and intentionally trying to pull the wool over my eyes. So back to your question, transparency, that's like the opposite of transparency. I'm sorry, I know that was a long, convoluted story. You really have to follow along.
Long, but absolutely necessary for the members to understand that, because, listen, our livelihoods are at stake. And if we have people, leadership specifically, who are not transparent and are not open and try to pull the wool over people's eyes or tell you something that you're not knowledgeable about and steer you in the wrong direction, I said, this is very dangerous.
Yeah, literally tried to fool me.
This is not what leadership should be doing. And again, intentionally doing.
Exactly. And
Because there were 2 documents and you were lied to, Ted.
yeah, sending me the wrong document, and you can't say, well, oh, maybe they had the wrong document. No, the language appears in our bylaws from the correct document, so they had the correct one. So sending me the wrong one.
Michelle, what's your take on transparency?
Well, I just feel that when I ask my building leader, he does provide nice, simple answers for me, and that's what I go with. I don't have time, or I don't want to not believe him. I just want to believe what he has to tell me and have me tell the other members.
Right.
I just want to believe what everyone's telling me, and I don't want to have to double think anything or guess anything.
Well, again, that's the thing. We should be able to trust our leaders that they are providing you with the right information. And again, Michelle, you just said that your building leader provides you with, updates and whatnot, and that's great. However, is the information, and I'm not disputing anything that your building leader might have sent out or, has told people. I'm just speaking in general, saying that if you're going to give out information, make sure that it is factual. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Next, let's move along in regards to communications. Again, another question was that, what does effective communication look like to you? And let me take this one very quickly. And then again, I'd like to, I believe we're all under the same philosophy that, listen, communication obviously needs to be effective. Effective communication means that there is transparency, all right? That communication is truthful, and that communication is presented in many forms of fashion, whether it be through email, whether it be through a posting on a web page, whether it be posting on Facebook, whether it's sending daily or weekly updates. Karen spoke already about effective communication in regard to the minutes, because our members do need to know what's going on in these meetings. So again, I think we're all on the same page with effective communication. And we all feel that there are various different means of effective communication. And more specifically, effective communication means being truthful and transparent. All right, next question here is...
Mike, I'm sorry. I have a question about
emails.
Go ahead. Can we be more specific about emails? Can work emails be used for communications? Is there like a legality against using work emails?
Here's the thing. For many years, we have used our HEA or our school, the district's emails to, of course, communicate. Mm-hmm. And we can use that. More, let's say, topics or issues that are, let's say, more exclusive to our members really should be sent through personal emails, especially like in regards to negotiations, and grievances and stuff of that nature that are a lot more personal. And that's because, we know that our district, and Ted, you were the technology coordinator. So you know that the district does have availability to look through and scan through our emails. Correct?
Absolutely, they can see our emails at any time, and so keeping it on a private, your private email is going to give you a layer of protection.
Okay, and so again, to answer your question, Jose, can our school emails be used for communication? Absolutely. So we encourage that we use personal emails. Just
sensitive stuff.
More sensitive information. But by all means, it is not illegal. In fact, under Governor Murphy, he passed a law called the Democracy Workplace Enhancement Act. And in that law itself, it specifically says that the majority representative, and again, the majority representative is the HEA, can use district emails for association business. So again, I don't know who got into telling people they heard. Again, it's a suggestion. It's advice that maybe came from, someone, maybe someone in NJEA, or maybe they heard it at, one of the workshops they attended or something of that nature. But by all means, there's nothing illegal or wrong about it. Again,
I'm asking because, I'm sorry to interrupt, because recently, obviously, I needed to vent my concerns about a particular topic, and I did so through work email.
Okay.
And I included a certain person just because, I just chose to add them. And the response that I got was, you should not be using your work email, especially during work hours. And it was almost like a bully type of move. Like, hey, don't be using work emails during work hours, otherwise or else.
Gotcha. So again, like I truly feel, and again, anyone else on the team here can join in. But again, you were essentially being chastised, and you were made to feel like you did something wrong because you sent an email via the school email.
Yeah, like
I don't find that to be effective communication.
No. I was just about to say, if we're not sure where the origin of this rule came down, that's a testament to a breakdown in communication.
That's correct.
Yeah. The content of my email, I'm sorry, Michelle, the content of my email was completely thrown to the side, and basically I was warned, don't use your work email.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Michelle, what were you going to say?
No, over the couple of years I've been a building rep, other teachers have asked me questions, and one recent question was based on like the non-tenures and how and when they would be known if they're going to get rehired. So that was sent through like a school email. So that's acceptable though, because how else would members get in contact with their building rep?
That's correct, Michelle. That's a great point to make. And again, through that law that I spoke about earlier, you can communicate using school email. You have the right to do so. Again, it is suggested, it is advised, that when it's more sensitive information, we do it on our personal emails.
One last thing about my email, like the person noted exactly the time that I sent out that email. All right. You send this email at this specific time, sir, type of response. And that's it.
Again, listen, we are all members here. We're all adults.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be, no one's going to be bullied. Nobody's going to be chastised. Nobody is going to made to feel uncomfortable. And again, there's all about and this is when we'll talk about relationships as well. Relationships and communications really go hand in hand. And again, it's all about your approach. All right. If you have an approach, it could have been as simple as, hey, Jose, I know that you sent the email through here, but listen, we feel that this is, a little bit more sensitive. Next time, please, do it. This is not just,
Absolutely.
not just, in that negative and harsh tone that you were sent. So again, I don't find that to be effective.
It's punitive versus informative. I think that we're all members and we should be informing one another, not chastising or casting punishment on each other.
I agree. Okay. Great. Okay, Ted, let's stop recording.